USC is a perfect 4-0, but an imperfect product on the field. The Rams, unlike what the storyline is, are not seeking revenge against Philadelphia, and Will Smith is sidelined for at least the rest of the Dodger regular season. Good morning. I'm James, and this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. It is September 21st, 2025. Welcome back to the home office. It's also the Lord's Day, Sunday. If you believe as I do, take a moment. Thank Him for the blessings that you have in your life, like LA sports. And if you'd like being in the know about LA, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop an update. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. Now, before we go through the notes, we always have an expanded look at the scoreboard during the football season. For example, 25th ranked USC 45, Michigan State 31. 4-0 for the Trojans. Double-digit wins every step of the way for the Trojans. And hey, Illinois got the living hell kicked out of them last night, so there's a chance at 5-0. But the Trojans still have what the hell were you thinking breakdowns in the defensive backfield. They allowed 3 passes to Michigan State that went for more than 30 yards. Now, don't get me wrong. Totally love what USC is doing. I was telling you guys all offseason that the Scribes, they have it in for Lincoln Riley so bad that it's as if there are times they are rooting for USC to fail. But they overmatched the Spartans in every facet of the game last night. There were 517 yards of total offense. They didn't even ask Jaden Mayava to carry the team last night. Most of the yards came on the ground, 283. And yet, the Spartans were just hanging in there. It's a 14-point win that doesn't feel like a 2-touchdown win. And that's what gives me a little bit of pause. See, to get to the college playoffs, you can't have more than 2 losses. You look at Notre Dame. They already have their 2 losses. They have to sweep the rest of the year. So I look ahead for the Trojans. I see the Irish. I see Nebraska with Dylan Raiola at quarterback. I see Oregon. And by the way, all 3 of those games on the road. Home versus Michigan. But then you go back to the Ducks. I talked about I talked about the Nebraska quarterback. Look at what the Ducks are accomplishing with Dante Moore under center. So don't get me wrong. Absolutely a lot to like if you're a Trojans fan. But Illinois should still be ranked despite that loss. And that game is going to be on the road. So the Trojans are going to have to continue to keep building. You kind of want to believe that they're back. I'm not sure that they are. Dodgers 7, Scum Francisco 5. The Dodger magic number is now just 3. And oh, by the way, FC Cincinnati 3, Galaxy 2. Thus, the defending MLS Cup champs are eliminated. First to currently worst in MLS. It ain't pretty. It is not acceptable. And we ain't heard anything about what significant changes that the club will absolutely have to make during the offseason. We were talking about whether or not USC is back. Last year, Galaxy supporters, such as myself, all year long, the Galaxy are back, the Galaxy are back. They were back for only 1 year, guys. They were back for only 1 year. And that's not acceptable. It isn't. Meanwhile, today, Scum Francisco is at the Dodgers. That game's at 1. The Rams are at Philly. Kickoff's at 10 a.m. Beating the Eagles today is not about redemption. It's not about revenge. Because should the Rams win this game, people aren't going to be talking about revenge or redemption. They're going to be talking about the Rams as a serious Super Bowl contender. We've been saying the Rams should be a Super Bowl contender because they always have a tendency to peak later in the year. And then they're the team that nobody wants to see in the playoffs. If they win today, this suggests that they are going to be a problem all season long for anybody they face. But let's be real about this. There's a lot going against the Rams in this particular game. For one, you should always be wary of an NFL team that has to go back to back on the road. Not to mention both road games being on the other side of the continent. You saw the Rams-Titans game last week. The Rams were terrible in the first half in Tennessee. Tennessee, a franchise in complete rebuild mode, and the Rams had problems. Second, and you know this as well as I, we still don't know for sure if the Rams can stop the run. They knew they had to address it in the offseason because Philly's Saquon Barkley single-handedly eliminated them last year. It's why LA signed Poona Ford at defensive tackle, but they're still allowing more than 4 yards per attempt. So, Philly looks at the Rams, they see that amazing defensive line, the overwhelming pass rush, and they're like, okay, we don't have to pass. That's what the Rams are facing today. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that the Rams can't win. They gave Philly everything and then some in the NFL playoffs last year. They were a much better competitor for Philadelphia than the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl. I'm just saying, I wouldn't put money on this game. And if the Rams win, the rest of the NFL is on notice. Denver's at the Chargers at 1. Finally, the Chargers are at home. And let's be honest with ourselves. You could say that was a home game versus the Chiefs in week 1. Brazil is not home. Stop it. As for this particular game, I think the Broncos are not quite there yet. By the way, we talked earlier about the Rams on the road for 2 consecutive weeks. Denver's on the road for 2 consecutive weeks. The Bolts are proving themselves to be a really tough out. Very difficult to play against, regardless of venue. My gut tells me this is going to be a long-ass game to watch because neither team has done enough to establish the run, so they're going to pass a lot. I just simply say that Justin Herbert's going to outdo Bo Nix. I think that the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, Jesse Minter, will continue to build a resume as a future head coach. He managed to retain intense pressure on the Raiders last week after Khalil Mack went down. Jim Harbaugh said part of the reason that they were still able to be all over Las Vegas is because Minter will put safety Derwin James anywhere on the field and get results, even in the pass rush. So I'm saying that Derwin James on defense and Justin Herbert, I think those two are also going to be the difference for the Bolts today. Finally, Real Salt Lake is at LAFC at 6 o'clock, so what do you say we get to the news? I'm starting to wonder how good healthcare is in Los Angeles. I really am. Not just the doctors. I'm talking about whether or not the X-ray techs or the MRI techs or the CT techs know how to take a damn picture. Catcher Will Smith took a foul ball off his hand at the beginning of the month. Scans back then were clean. Oh, it's just some swelling. There's not going to be a problem. He's just going to be out. He's day to day. Well, the playoffs are coming up. He's still in pain. So they take more pictures. Oh, looky there, a hairline fracture. How did that happen? How did that get there? So Dave Roberts is saying it's unlikely Smith will return for the regular season now. That's a fine how do you do. Quote, having him available for the postseason, we're still hopeful, unquote. And then everyone in the medical industry started covering up, right? According to team president Andrew Friedman, quote, it sounds like from the doctors that it's so small and it's such a small part of the hand that it didn't show up initially, but it did on the subsequent scan, unquote. Or maybe the X-ray tech didn't position the anatomy properly for the picture. That's a possibility too, right? Now, I'm not saying I know I'm right, but I think it's an educated guess. I will say this for the Dodgers, though. For all the talk that we heard at the end of July about how the Dodgers had a lousy trade deadline and by golly, Slime Diego just destroyed. They're going to overtake the Dodgers. It's now the Padres division, isn't it? Well, does anybody want to look at the standings? Because one of the reasons that the Dodgers are on the precipice of taking the NL West anyway is because despite the fact the Padres had this amazing trade deadline and the Dodgers allegedly didn't know what they were doing, they got their catcher to replace Will Smith at the trade deadline. So, shh. Ben Rortvedt, a guy who was supposedly just a throw-in in a 3-team trade with Tampa Bay and Cincinnati. Oh, sure, we'll just give the Dodgers Ben Rortvedt. We don't see anything in him. He's been really damn good in LA ever since Smith went down. He's the one who's supposedly going to get the majority of the starts over Dalton Rushing. Why? He's hitting .294. Now, don't get me wrong, not having Smith is a thing. And they're not saying he will be there for the playoffs. I don't know if Ben Rortvedt is going to be able to continue this all the way through the end of October. Repeating without Smith is going to be a damn tough ask. He's a 3-time All-Star for a reason. So I'm not saying don't sweat it. I'm saying, hey, the Dodgers are still the king of this roost. And now it's time for your daily injured Dodger pitcher update. Brusdar Graterol is likely done for the year. Andrew Friedman turned around. He told the LA Times the dude still hasn't been able to ramp it up in Camelback Ranch in Arizona. Graterol had rotator cuff surgery to his shoulder in the offseason. He hasn't even had an attempt at a rehab assignment. He just spent the whole year in Arizona. We mentioned all the good things that were happening over at USC. It was not a perfect evening at the Coliseum. Receiver Jacoby Lane is out for the immediate future with an inconclusive injury. So we don't know where the injury is. They won't even go so far as what the NHL does and say whether it's upper or lower body. Your guess is as good as mine. This could be a thing going forward. Look, the Trojans aren't loaded at studs in the receiving room this year. Mekhi Lemon is obviously going to be the go-to guy in Lane's absence. Jaden Richardson started in Lane's place last night, right? But he only caught 2 passes for 23 yards. Both of which in the first half, I might add. The LA Times is reporting UCLA interim coach Tim Skipper actually has hiring power. He is trying to add Kevin Coyle to the defensive coaching staff. Coyle has experience in college and the NFL. He's currently a senior defensive analyst at Syracuse, which basically means he's sitting in a room looking at film and just nodding his head to the rest of the coaching staff. Coyle did previously coach at Fresno State. When he did, the Broncos were 3rd in the Mountain West Conference in total defense. And of course, UCLA's defensive coordinator left last week, so they need somebody in there with some semblance of knowledge. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me. How optimistic are you over USC football? Are they back? Or are you still kind of tapping the brakes a little bit? And for that matter, do you think that the Rams are just 3 hours away from sending that statement across the NFL? And if you enjoyed this update, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James, and we'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Quian Corte El Queso production. Take care.